Hi, I'm Tom Wootton, and I founded the Bipolar Advantage program about 15 years ago, not long after I myself was diagnosed as bipolar 1. I look back and I could see that my first manic episode was when I was 9 years old, and I've had mania and depression throughout my life. I started gathering together some of the top experts of the world, doctors, therapists, patients, family members, and started to put together this program. And it slowly turned into something that is producing the best results of anybody else in the whole world. And I want to share that with you. But before I can, we have to just kind of get a handle on what the big issues are with mania and depression and how it destroys our lives. And usually that means we're overwhelmed by mania and we're overwhelmed by depression, or we're overwhelmed by some mixed state of combination of the two. So let's talk about, what does overwhelm mean? According to the dictionary, it means it has a strong emotional effect on us. But with bipolar, I think it's more than that. It could be a physical effect, a mental effect, an emotional effect, a spiritual effect, a social effect, or a career financial effect. And somehow the combination of all of those elements either adds up to something that's too intense for us, or it's too complex. The collection of all of the feelings that we're having and all of the state that we have is just too much for us. And we feel like our choice of how to act has been taken away. We feel like we can't function normally and we're completely controlled by the state. And that's the problem of bipolar in order. It wouldn't be a problem if I was depressed and I wasn't so depressed that I'm overwhelmed by it. It wouldn't be a problem if I was manic and I wasn't so manic that I was overwhelmed by it. So let's spend a little bit of time just talking about overwhelm and how it works in our lives. So where does overwhelm happen? It happens at school, it happens at work, it happens in sports, it happens when we're driving, at least in the beginning of our driving. It happens in relationships, it happens in our events, it happens in certain states of mind, especially when we're talking about bipolar disorder. But it really happens throughout our lives. It happens all of the time for our entire lives. There's times when we just get overwhelmed by the circumstances, by our internal or external condition, by an injury. Overwhelm is a common part of our lives. So we need to figure out what to do about it. So what are our choices? What do we do when we feel overwhelmed? Well, it really comes down to two. We can quit whatever it is, or we can learn how to do it. So we would go out and we would get ourselves an education, and we would practice, and we would understand our limitations, and we would limit the challenges for a while until we get better at it. And this applies to everything in life. We don't go out and first time we drive a 200 mile an hour race car around the track. We learn in the parking lot where it's safe and we're driving slow, and then we graduate out onto the street and twisty turns, and we eventually get onto the highway speeds. And if we really want to and really put the work in it, we can end up in that race car and learning how to drive a race car. Same thing for everyone. But the way we do it is to challenge ourselves just slightly outside the comfort zone. We don't start at the end point. We start inside of our comfort zone where we're confident and we feel good about it, and then we challenge ourselves at a little bit harder challenge. And we seek inspiration from people who already know how to do it, from people who are good at it, those who have succeeded. And that applies to literally everything in life. So the National Institute of Mental Health did a study on, essentially overwhelm, bipolar disorder, and they found that in spite of the best evidence-based treatment, bipolar disorder remains a highly recurrent, and the older we get, the more depressive episodes. And that kind of says quitting isn't an option. We can't just ignore this because it keeps coming back. So we have no choice but to learn how to do it. And that's not a bad thing, because when we learn how to do it, you can start getting results like we've produced, and we're no longer overwhelmed, or at least not nearly as much. So why is mental health somehow different from all those other things in life? I think there's several reasons. One is stigma. There's the fact that people are judging us because we're mentally ill and they don't give us the opportunities. But I think the biggest one is what we would call self-stigma. We're telling ourselves that we're sick and we can't, and therefore we don't even give it a shot. We have a certain ignorance like we would in any field. If I want to learn math, I have to acknowledge that I don't understand it at that level yet and get the education. It doesn't mean I'm bad. It just means I don't understand it yet. And then we have an over-reliance on medicine as the only solution. I'm not saying medicine is bad. I'm just saying that when all they do is say, take this med and it's going to fix things, the study already proved it doesn't work. And our lives proved it doesn't work. It puts us into a temporary remission that seems to always return. So it's more than just a medicine solution. And we're pushed limitations as a form of success. We're always holding up people who are barely getting by, but we're holding them up and having them tell their stories about how horrible their lives are. And it's mostly so we can feel sorry for them, not that we can see that as the future we want to have. And a big one, caused partly by that, is that we have a lack of belief that it's even possible. It's amazing how many times I run into people who think that it's not even possible to get the results that we produce regularly. And a lot of that are from the experts, or people who claim to be experts at this, who have never produced results like we do. So they don't know how, so they insist that since they haven't produced those results, and they've tried and they've got good educations and they're very smart people, therefore it's not possible. And it's just plain not true. So we have produced these results, and I want to help you get so much better results than you've ever heard of before. So please stick with me and let me teach you how. I'm going to send you a series of videos and even invite you to come to a live session with us, and I will help you learn how to get far better results than perhaps you even accept as possible, but you probably haven't seen the kind of results that we create. So please let me share it with you, and please let me show you how to make that part of your life and make it a reality that you are producing the results that you deserve and that I know I can help you make happen. Thank you very much.